Hello and welcome to the Merle and Locke podcast. I'm Merle.
And I'm Locke.
Set sail and lower expectations for everything nerd, accompanied by a healthy, albeit shameful, helping to pointless banter, lack of focus, and questionably acquired knowledge.
And more.
And more. I wanted to get into something that we often talk about this, but I don't know that we've ever dedicated an episode to it necessarily, having to do with pet peeves in video games.
Everyone, everything, at all times.
At all times. So I realize we're probably mostly going to talk about MMOs because, with many other games, we don't usually play with outside people. Sometimes we do, but most of the time that we interact with other people that we don't necessarily know, it's in MMOs because, you're kind of forced to with some of the things like having to do raid finders because we don't have enough friends that play World of Warcraft to be able to form guilds and what have you. But okay, so let's get into this. What is the first thing that you think of when it comes to pet peeves, World of Warcraft, for example?
Everybody's always in my way when I want to collect a quest. They're going to mount up on the most ginormous mount that they have, and they're going to sit right on top of the quest giver. If it's not those people, what it used to be was your opposite party or opposite faction would come and kill all of your quest givers. Here you are, just a level 1 noob starting up for the first time and in the world, and they kill your quest giver. And what are you going to do about it, huh? Come on. Go ahead. Fight me. And they got nothing until they contact all their other buddies or they hop off and get on their alt account and then they come and kill you because you're messing around in their territory.
I haven't run into that too often. The part I remember running into that was when we were doing the remix, the WoW Pandaria remix. I remember us doing that, and we were in, what was that area called that we were sitting in? It was like the end game area.
Oh, right, where there's always a bunch of Alliance and Horde, bad and good guy type things going on. Isle of Tunda.
I remember being in that area, and I think was it Kel'Thas?
Kel'Thas on Strider, yeah.
He was the main quest giver for all the dailies and what have you, and we kept having Horde players or Alliance players drop in because we were playing Horde at the time. Alliance players would come in and just keep aggroing Kel'Thas and the other daily quest givers, and we were just like, we couldn't do anything. I remember trying to fight those people. Okay, me personally, when it comes to PvP in World of Warcraft, admittedly, I'm pretty inept. It's not for everyone. It's a whole different ball game, a whole different kind of build, more so focusing on burst damage and negating certain effects or certain channeling abilities.
Stun.
Lots of stunning. Yeah. And it's an absolute pain. I hate it, but I get it. But I usually don't make a build for it. That was our issue that we were running into during that. And for the blocking the quest givers, I think that's absolutely hilarious because it happens all the time. Like some random quest giver that there's like an event going on. Like today we were just playing and we were doing this whole Secrets of Azeroth type stuff, and we were trying to talk to a quest giver and a guy on the huge
mech spider.
And he was right on top, and everybody kept yelling at him to move out of the way, and was like cursing in chat, and oh man, it was pretty insufferable. And like World of Warcraft does this thing that's pretty funny, where Horde and Alliance players, they can't talk to one another.
It often comes across as gibberish because it's a different language.
Yeah, it's a different language, can't talk to one another. So if somebody in the other faction is messing up, you can't really say anything to them because it just comes out as gibberish. It makes for some frustrating, but in hindsight, kind of funny confrontations as we're just yelling at the guy and he's just like, he doesn't notice whatsoever.
He's just blank behind the eyes, just staring off into the wild. Here we are yelling at him, and he's like, this is peaceful. I like it here.
I'm just chilling. I stay.
These people are nice. Yeah, I stay.
So that'll bring us into our next one, right? Where in raids. Okay, first of all, I want to say about raids, we are forced to do raid finders most of the time because we don't have a big enough group. Our guild is made up of people that don't really play. Me and you are like the only ones that play usually. And that is for a reason, you know, it's a fault of our own. We have particularly high standards, meaning that we need to know you personally for a big span of our life in order to invite you to the guild. So a lot of prerequisites go into that for us to consider you joining our guild.
There could be exceptions at some point, but we're old in our ways.
Yeah. Anyway, so we have to do Raid Finder most of the time. And what I see so much is when we're doing Raid Finder, we have tanks, you know, tanks lead the way. And a lot of the time, the people that play tanks are more so people that know all the ins and outs of a raid because they do their research beforehand. The troubling thing is that they're very patronizing, right?
Stick close to the wall. Let's not attract ads. God.
So they will attack any and everyone for making the slightest mistake. I've seen so many times where we'll be doing a raid, we get to a boss, we get a wipe, and we all have to restart again. And then the tank just goes off in the chat about how inept people in raid finders are, which, I mean, admittedly, yes, sometimes they are pretty inept, but it's not like I wouldn't say that to everyone because, you know, everybody's learning. If we wipe once, it's like, okay, we have experience now. We know what to expect. Let's go in there and just do better.
We got to give everyone a chance. However, there are people who just go in there and stand there and maybe go punch, punch, kick, and then stare into space and maybe get a couple of other hits in. They are very low in the damage dealing aspect, but boy, what characters they are.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about this one guy that we ran into, yeah? We were queuing up for some Raid Finder dungeons, yeah? Or Raid Finder dungeons.
Yeah.
We're just doing dungeons, and we were queuing up with people you don't know. I was practicing being a healer class during those because I've never done it before. And so you and your nephew were kind of taking me through, taking it easy on me, knowing that I was trying to get used to it, trying to get a feel for it. So we were only queuing up with two other people, right? And we came across this one guy called, I don't know if I want to call him out on what his name was.
We're just going to say he's a panda eating a pickle.
Yeah, a panda eating a pickle. Okay, so he was a Pandaren character who was a monk. We went into these fights and we started noticing that this guy wasn't doing anything. We would start these boss fights and he would go stand right under the boss and just stand there. He wouldn't attack, he wouldn't do nothing. And the rest of us were just grinding it out trying to take the boss down.
So I put it in my head after also noticing that, put it as a headcanon, that this guy is just going up and munching on like pickles while staring at the boss that we're fighting. We are going at it, we're going hard, and he just goes up crunch. And we're like, and he might just throw a little fist, and then he'd walk around in a circle and just stand there and watch.
Initially, at the end of that first dungeon that we did, we noticed this. We were talking crap on this guy. We were laughing at him, but we didn't kick him or anything.
We could have done that.
We could have, but we didn't. We get to the last boss, we take it out, and I just say in the chat, well done, you know, the guy's name.
And I clapped my hands, made my character clap his hands at him.
We all gave a round of applause to this guy, and then the guy just looks at us
deadness behind the eyes.
Yeah, he just goes, I stay. And
And for two or three more dungeons, we took this kid, because I can only imagine it was a kid. It took him through three other dungeons with him doing the same shenanigans the whole time.
I was just like, the audacity of this guy. This guy is amazing. Just zero shame whatsoever. He's just like, I stay. That was the only thing he ever said to us the entire time. Those words after the first dungeon, just I stay. We were like, okay. All right.
You had tried saying something then when we were like, we're done with dungeons. We're gonna leave. Like, it was nice meeting you. And then he just dips out. Doesn't say a word.
I was like, it's been an absolute honor fighting alongside you, or something to that effect. And the guy just dips out. And I was like, well,
Poofs
okay.
out of existence.
Never to be seen again. That
like
guy.
he was when he existed. He was not there. He just
gone. Just as useless as he's always been. Man, that was so funny because, like, man, I was determined to keep this guy alive too, because he'd be standing on everything, like all the area of effect attacks and what have you from the bosses. He would stand right in the middle of, and I was determined to keep this guy alive, and I kept healing him, trying to prioritize him at times over our tank, because he was taking way more damage than our tank was. I was like, no, don't you die on me.
Yeah, I'm already there dead on the ground, and you're like, yeah, don't you die. You're our only hope. And I'm like, God, I hope that's not true.
I was like, you're the chosen one. Oh, man. That was so good. I love that guy. We came up with like this entire character we just built in our minds throughout those dungeons that we were doing. This completely useless guy walking around eating a pickle while we were all just grinding away at all these bosses.
Super serious characters and one absolute mongoloid of a human being walking around following us, contributing nothing.
And the fact that he was Pandaren was just perfect. I was absolutely perfect. What a guy. And we were pretty much running those dungeons because it was three of us, the healer, the tank, and one DPS. So we were pretty much ahead in the charge, and we just refused to kick this guy. We never consulted with the other person or the other people that were with us. They didn't say anything about it. They're probably thinking to themselves, like, why don't they kick this guy? But no, we refused to. Maybe they even thought that he was with us. He was one of our people. It was great fun, and I loved doing that. I actually ran into that situation again. It wasn't the same person, but it happened to be another Pandaren character where I was doing a dungeon and he just did the follow action, right? Where you can just click on a person and you can choose to follow them. So you can go hands off the keyboard and your character will just follow that person that you had clicked on. And we did the first boss, and then we were making our way to the second boss. But then, the tank was just like, I'm not dealing with this. And he voted to kick the guy and everybody agreed to it. And I was like, all right, fine. I just kicked the guy. Because, the fact that he was just following, like, he wasn't even attempting. He's probably AFK, going to make himself lunch or something and expecting us to take him all the way through. But yeah, they weren't having it. They weren't as good as sports as we were when we were running dungeons.
Do you really want to call it good sports? I guess in a way, but we were absolutely picking on this person for the most part.
Yeah, it was more of a meme when he was with us. Just the fact that he wasn't following anybody. He was just, he was walking around on his own, but he just wasn't attacking. Maybe there's some kind of pacifist achievement or something he was going for. Who knows? But I don't know. I don't know if that's an option, if you could actually do that. But
it was interesting. It was humorous. We loved the experience. Not all people will enjoy that.
Some people are pretty fed up with that type of thing, but we're just chuffed with how that went and the story we were able to create for ourselves within our own little tiny community. But that was good fun. But as far as, I guess we are talking pet peeves here. I want to hear one more that you might have.
People selling things to the auction house for just an outrageous price.
Cornering the market.
We know how rare this object is. Guess what? We want $1,000 for it.
This was pretty rough because we were doing these one of the Secrets of Azeroth things. There's a big event that's going now. It was having to do with the anniversary. There's this particular quest that you got where you had to decipher this journal that pertained to certain crafting ingredients that you had to obtain. And after we figured out what the crafting ingredients were, we decided, you know what? We're not going to go all over the World of Warcraft and try to find all of these materials. Let's just hit up the auction house and see if we can buy them. Man, people absolutely cornered the market on that. I guess first chance they got, as they took up this opportunity, knew that everybody was working on this quest and during this event, and they started selling everything for these outrageous prices. I don't hold too much resentment because I get the strategy. I understand it completely. And, it's a smart thing to do. But God, it's dirty. Man, the kind of person it takes to do something like that, that sucks. It's such a shitty thing to do to people. Of course, there's going to be suckers that are just like, yeah, this is the game. I'll just do it, be done with this.
Yeah. How dare you make us the suckers?
We were determined to get some of the supplies ourselves because of all these outrageous prices. So we did. We got some of the supplies. And then there's this one particular item which you refused to spend money on because how much was it? It was like this little flame.
A small flame sack, and it cost like 1,500 gold in the auction house. I was like, oh my God.
Something that would probably go for pennies, on the regular because it's a classic or cataclysm crafting ingredient, which has no value anymore. But since this event was up, somebody knew like, oh, I can get some good cash out of this. And yeah, they seem to have bought up all of that item in the auction house and then sold it off for an outrageous price.
Who knows? Like it probably was a lower price in the auction house. And then once they realized that it was going to be useful again, they're like, oh, amp up that price.
It was dirty. And we were like, no, I bought it because I was like,
sucker.
Screw it. I was a sucker. But you refused to, out of principle. And so we said, okay, well, let's go and see if we can get this craft ingredient, and then I'll see if I can get an extra one so I can resell it and get my money back on the auction house. We tried and we couldn't find it. We couldn't find the item. So, and it was getting late. You said, Oscar it, and you went ahead and purchased the item for that outrageous price on the auction house.
Unfortunately, I hate myself for it, but I did.
I get it. Like, just out of principle, avoiding that and not giving them that satisfaction, that would have been pretty satisfying. But at the same time, we're not as young as we used to. We do value our sleep. So we had to get it done, call it quits. Those bastards. They got us.
You win this time.
You win this time. You son of a bitch. Thank you for joining us on the Merle & Locke podcast. If you enjoyed this banter, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/Merle and Locke, or simply follow the link in the description. Thank you.